Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and otherwise. I'm Lamar Haven. Welcome back to 999. 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors. When last we left our heroes, we were looking for a missing member of our group, Snake. We were unable to find him, but we need to. Because if we don't, someone's going to plan on going on ahead without him. But we've searched everywhere we can, so all we can do is finish searching. He looked everywhere they could think of, but Snake was nowhere to be found. Oh shit, I messed something up. Before we continue, I need to restart this with my controller active, so it recognizes my controller. Come on, turn on. Meta Knight Kirby, hello! I have a bit of issue. There you are. Turn on, controller. Come on. It's refusing to turn on. Okay. I guess I'm going to be changing something real fast before we move on. I'm going to be switching over to keyboard controls for this game. But that means I have to reset them. Start select R disabled select make you tab. No. Make you control. No. Make you alt. No. Make you space. Okay, there. Alright, so I won't need the controller anymore for this. Sorry about that. On time for once. Looked everywhere, but Snake was nowhere to be found. Lotus looked around at 6 frustrated faces and spoke. We can't keep looking for Snake. Wherever he is, he's not here. We need to get moving. Junpei couldn't disagree with what she was saying. Snake seemed to have completely disappeared. There was no point in wasting any more time. The others seemed to be having similar thoughts, but they stayed silent. Finally, Seven spoke. We don't got a choice. Lotus is right. We're not gonna find Snake. There's a problem, though. We gotta figure out who's gonna go through which door. Yeah, I have a proposal. She walked back and forth across the floor, her heels clicking against the wood. Finally, she stopped. Why don't we decide on one person to sacrifice? Sacrifice? Well, perhaps it's a bit of a harsh word, but yes. You've all figured it out by now, haven't you? We can't all make it through these doors. If we split into 2 teams of 4 to 3 peoples respectively, then 3 people will be left behind. If we split into 2 teams of 5 to 2 peoples respectively, then 2 people will be left behind. But if we split into 2 groups of 3 and leave 1 person out, then only 1 person will be left behind. Leave behind 3 people with 2 teams of 4 and 3. Junpei wasn't quite sure that was true. Wait a minute. 2 people get left behind if we split into 5 and 2. And 1 person's left behind if we split into 3, 3, and 1. I got that part. You can't go through the numbered doors with any less than 3 people. If we split into 4 and 3, then why do 3 people get left behind? Just run the numbers. Let's say we go through door 7 with 1, 4, 5, 6. Who's left over? That would be 3, 7, 8. What's the digital root for that? 9. Exactly. But door 9 isn't here, right? That means 3, 7, 8 won't be going anywhere. That was just an example, of course. There are a lot of different combinations, but the result will always be the same. It doesn't matter which 4 it is. The 3 that are left over can't go through any of the doors. Go ahead and calculate it if you have the time. You'll see. Anyway, that's how it is. Now if we get back to my proposal, we only have to sacrifice 1 person if we split into 3, 3, and 1. When Seven spoke, his voice was strained. Then, you're saying we gotta decide who we're gonna leave behind? Yes, we do. Given our circumstances, it's logically and morally the best solution. If the other 6 are to survive, then 1 person has to sacrifice themselves. No! That's too cruel! What's so cruel about it? To just sacrifice someone like that? Then what's your plan? Maybe we should sacrifice 2 people instead of just 1. That's not what I meant! You shouldn't sacrifice anyone! I told you, that's impossible. Wake up! Whoa, calm down, you two. Santa stepped between Lotus and June. Look, what Lotus is trying to say is that you should aim to bring the greatest amount of happiness to the greatest amount of people, right? Exactly. That's how democracy works. And for that reason, I think the only fair way to decide who would be sacrificed is through a vote. What do you think? No, that's terrible. I'm not asking you. Shut up. What about you, Santa? Me? Well, I agree, I guess. Alright, that's 1 vote for. Counting mine, that's 2. 7? I can't say I agree with you, but we don't exactly have a choice. If we don't do something, we're all gonna die. Glad to see you get it. It's possible, but I'm beginning to suspect she did something to Santa, so not Santa, to Snake, so that he couldn't be found, so we'd be stuck in this situation. She's the one who specifically mentioned that we should go on ahead, because only a certain amount of people can make it to the 9 door at the end. What about you, Clover? Clover had moved away from the group and was sitting on one of the beds. Her whole body drooped. Junpei didn't know if she even heard Ludus's proposal. Ludus walked over to Clover and gently laid a hand on her shoulder. Your brother has to be behind one of the numbered doors. We searched everywhere, but we didn't find him. Doesn't that mean he has to have gone through one of them somehow? If he did, he's dead. So let's hope not? Clover slowly lifted her face. Let's go look for him together, huh? If we sacrifice one person, then we can go look for him. You agree with me, right? Man, you're manipulative! You know that's not true! You know that couldn't have happened unless he somehow got through before the thing was... Unless he got through the door when they were still broken. But how? And that would mean someone locked him behind those doors before it could activate... I suppose that's possible, but not likely. The fact that they were broken before we got here is a problem, and Lotus is the biggest candidate for who could have done something about it. She was the first on scene. I don't like it. This whole situation feels like it's being manipulated by Lotus. Clover nodded once. The motion carries. Lotus spun around and walked towards Junpei. Now, let's start a vote too. That won't be necessary. Ace had barely spoken for Lotus's entire speech, and everyone jumped a little. 6 pairs of eyes turned to look at him. He didn't seem to notice or even care. I will stay. I should solve our problem, yes? Holy shit, dude. Ace, what are you saying? No, you can't do that. That won't solve anything. June's voice shook, and she looked around desperately for someone to agree with her. Ace simply looked at her. June, I'm afraid you may have misunderstood me. I said I would stay, but I never said I would sacrifice myself. Uh-huh. I trust you. Each and every one of you. I believe you'll come back for me. Dude, that is a lot of faith. Especially when I'm pretty certain that's not possible. Whoa, whoa, whoa. There's optimistic and then there's just nuts. These doors only go one way. You go in, you don't come out. If we go through them, you won't be able to return, correct? Yeah, true. That will not be the case once you've escaped from the ship. What? Please, I beg you, once you've escaped, come back and rescue me. Ideally within the time limit Zero has given us. No, that's ridiculous! There's no way we could get back in time! Finally, Junpei could hold his tongue no longer. We've only got 5 hours left! We don't even know where the hell we are! How on earth are we gonna find someone to come and rescue you? Then perhaps you would prefer to stay instead of me. Or perhaps you would be willing to leave June behind. Ace's voice was dignified, without a hint of cruelty or malice. Junpei had no rebuttal. You see, there's no other choice. Then, I see how we've come to our conclusion. Go on. Don't worry yourselves about me. Go, quickly. It might be a better choice to leave 2 people behind in case they find Snake. But then we'd have to do some serious math jumbling to figure out exactly who. I don't like it. I don't like it, this entire situation. If it wasn't Lotus who manipulated this situation, it was Zero. Zero knew exactly who he was dealing with. Perhaps he knew exactly what Lotus would suggest, or that someone would, at least, suggest a situation like this. All he needed to do was take away one person to make it happen. He knew exactly who to do it because he's a number nerd, so he knew exactly how many people he needed. However, Lotus seems to be on top of it with the numbers as well. And I'm still not convinced Zero is somewhere else. I'm pretty sure Zero is within our group. Damn it. Junpei stood frozen by indecision, unable to move. June bit her lips so hard that Junpei feared she would break skin. Santa stood against a wall, calm and aloof. Seven tore his beanie from his head and turned it over anxiously in his hands. Only Clover stared at Ace, with an expression Junpei was unable to decipher. Lotus's attitude, however, was different from the others. Good. Let's accept this kind offer, then. She smiled, her eyes bright. Ace answered with a smile of his own. Good. I think this is the best for me. Perhaps I'll be able to take a nap. Perhaps it's my age, but I get so tired early these days. As he spoke, Ace lowered himself down on the floor next to one of the beds. From somewhere deep in the ship, Junpei suddenly heard the screeching of metal on metal. It was almost as if the ship was screaming. Would it really hold until their time limit was up? Already T-Deck was flooded. In a sudden silence, the only sound was sad metal wail of the ship. Unsurprisingly, it was Lotus who spoke first. Well, what are you waiting for? We're wasting time, why don't we hurry it up? As if a spell had been broken, the others all began to talk at once. You're right, we should get going. That's all we can do right now. 7. Seriously. Honestly, I was getting kind of sick of listening to you guys talk. You too, Santa? I have to find my brother. Wait, all of you! Let's just calm down and think about this. There has to be a way to get everyone out. There has to be. Right, Chumpy? Say something. Yeah, let's think. There's gotta be another way. His words sounded hollow and fake. Fine. Forget about it. I'll figure it out on my own. She spun around and ran toward Ace. He had slumped down next to the bed when June grabbed his arm and pulled. Come on, Ace, please stand up. You can't give up yet. We just have to sit down together and think about this. We'll figure out a way that we can all get out of here. And it happened. What the hell? Ace fell forward. He slumped over on the wooden floor, his body folded in half like a boxer out cold. Ace! June cried out and dropped to her knees beside him. She put her arm around his neck and did her best to lift him up. What happened, Ace? Say something! She shook him frantically. His eyes fluttered open. I'm alright. His voice was weak and slightly slurred. How are you fine? This... He held out his left arm and slowly opened his hand. It was a syringe and a small vial. The vial was empty. It only recently been emptied. A few drops clung to the sides. There's a label taped to the side of the container. It was Soparil Beta. Soparil Beta. Junpei had no idea what it meant or what kind of medicine it might be. Did you use this? Yes. It's just anesthetic. I'll be fine. Anesthetic? I found it earlier while we were searching the hospital rooms. Thought it might be useful later. I didn't think I'd be using it on myself. Why did you do this? Didn't I tell you? I'd like to take a nap. I really am very tired. Junpei knew that wasn't why he had done it. Ethan injected himself with anesthetic to forestall Junpei and June's attempts to bring him along. If he couldn't move, there was nothing they could do. He'd injected himself so that they would be forced to leave him behind. Ace. Is there something you want to say? I'd just like to sleep a little. Could you keep it down? No! Don't, Ace! Don't fall asleep! Oh, you feel warm. So comfortable. I think I'll have a nice dream. Ace's eyelids dropped further and further, almost as though he were dying. Ace! Ace! She shook his shoulder again and again. This time he didn't respond. Only the gentle rising and falling of the chest told them he was alive. Junpei was relieved to see he was in fact still breathing. He lifted Ace up off the floor and laid him in the bed he'd been leaning against. When Junpei turned around, Lotus gave him a look of pity. Well, we really don't have a choice now. You can't let a sacrifice go to waste, right? She wasn't feeling any remorse. Junpei was sure of that. Still, he held no grounds upon which to oppose her. It felt wrong, but he had to agree. Then suddenly Santa spoke. Yeah, but we're not done choosing yet, are we? Huh? What do you mean? Well, we haven't decided who's going to what door. Yes, that's true. Well, enough of this screwing around. Let's decide. You first, Lotus. Which door do you want? I want the door number 8. It's the same number as my bracelet number. Got it. You're 8. You're next, 7. Which do you want? I'll take 7. I can't get along with that old lady. What? What did you just say? Her face distorted by rage, Lotus took a step towards 7. He threw up his hands and made a face like a child caught with his hand in a cookie jar. Ugh! You're going to get it next time. She shot him a glare that would have melted steel, then turned and walked off. Yeah, someone had to take charge, but not her. I don't like this. Best case scenario. She's not betraying us. This is actually how she feels. And she's the one who, and she's doing this. Unfortunately, best case scenario plays right into Zero's hands. He wants us to turn on each other to a certain degree. Which means she's making it worse. So best case scenario, she's helping Zero inadvertently. Worst case scenario, she either is Zero, probably not, or is working with Zero, probably not, or is just being manipulated by Zero. See, if anybody who's working for Zero, they would be subtle about it. They would not be like, I'm gonna be the one that stirs up shit. No, they're gonna be the one that causes other people to stir up shit. And Santa's a lot smarter than he sounds. If someone worked for Zero, they would be someone who is really good with numbers, but were able to hide it. Alright, who's next? Santa's gaze moved across the 3 people left. Finally stopped on Junpei. Junpei, which door do you want? At last. Junpei's mind was already made up. No. Okay. We can't go through door 3. 7 and 8 are the doors we have to go through. So, 7 and 8 are, need multiple... Okay, I'm 5, June is 6. That gives us 11. And we need 4 in one of them. I really want to try and go with June, but I'm not sure. Yeah, the height in the cutscene, I don't think that would give us a good hint. I'm pretty sure they did it with a perspective shot or something that would distort the height. Let's see. I'm trying to do some math here. Who do we have available to us? Ace is out, so no Ace. Snake is gone, so no Snake. So we have 4, 8, 3, 7, 6. On door 7 is 7, door 8 is 8. If I want to go with 6, oh, and there's 5 with me. Let's see, 5 and 6, that equals 18, combined equals 9. So we would have to add, if we added a 4, it would not work. If we added a 3, that would not work. So I need to go with 8 if I want to get her in my party. That's a 19, which equals 10, which equals 1. So no. Out of 4, that gives me 23. That gives me 5. No. Out of 4, that gives me 23, which gives me 5. No. Wait, what? Add 3, that gives me 22, that gives me 4. Damn it! I can't think of a way to go with June! I really don't trust Lotus? But if I don't go with Lotus, I'm afraid she's going to do something that I can't stop. I need to stick with Lotus and stop her if she's planning something bad. Fuck. I think I'm gonna go with door 8. Okay, 8 it is. Yeah. Alright then. That means June's gotta go through 7. What? Why? What? Santa grimaced and muttered angrily at himself, but finally began to explain. If the 6 of us are gonna keep without leaving any behind, there's only 3 ways we can do it. Plan A. Go through 7 with 3, 5, 8, and go through 8 with 4, 6, 7. Plan B. Go through 7 with 4, 7, 5, 7, with 8 with 3, 6, 8. Go through 7 with 3, 6, 7, or go through 8 with 4, 5, 8. Yeah, there's no way I could go with June in this setup. Damn it! And hey, Death Lotus, I don't remember if I said hello already. And that's it. Those are our only options. In other words, 3 and 4 and 7 and 8 can never go through the same doors. Get it now? As Santa finished, June looked over at Junpei, tears welling up in the corners of her eyes. Oh no. You're saying we aren't going to see each other again for a long time? Junpei felt just as June did. He wanted to be at her side through whatever trials they were preparing to face. But he knew if they were to survive, he would have to swallow his feelings. In order for the 6 of them to move forward, he and June would have to be separated. He looked at June. He was scared to lose her, but he swallowed, steeled his resolve, and did his best to smile. Hey, come on. You're making it sound like we're never going to see each other again. We gotta split up, but only for a while. This is just like when we went to the 4 and 5 doors, remember? We got split up then too, but we all met back up. I'll bet 7 and 8 are just like that. You mean they're connected somewhere? Yeah, probably. Probably? She didn't sound very hopeful. It was 7 that interjected. I'm sure they're gonna connect somewhere. Why? What makes you so sure? If they don't connect, neither team can get through door 9. In other words, the game would end right there. Zero's been on top of his shit so far. I don't think he'd blow it now. I'm damn sure that son of a bitch wants to make this fun last as long as possible. I'm not gonna end this game until we get through the 9 door. I don't think being unable to team up with June is a coincidence. That too. It's possible she's either Zero or working with Zero, because that's the type of twist I would expect from a game like this. This is by the this is from the Danganronpa people, and I'm not going to spoil anything about Danganronpa, but they like to do stuff that's sort of like that. Thanks for the constant streams. Thank you, Death Lotus. I appreciate that, because keeping a scheduled stream is really important to me. And I hope that it helps people out with, seeing my content and maybe integrating me into their schedule. The tears were gone, but her eyes were still sad as they looked at Junpei. He met them, and with the reassurance he could manage, he laid his hand gently on her shoulder. Everything's gonna be fine. We're gonna see each other again. I promise. June bit her lip and gave it an almost imperceptible nod. Yes. Promise? Her voice was barely above a whisper. Santa's voice shattered the moment. You guys are done, right? He stretched and continued. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Clover and I will both go in our separate groups. I figure I'll take 7, and Clover can take 8. Any problems with that, Clover? Clover looked away and was silent for a moment. Whatever. It was more of a dismissal than an agreement, but Santa didn't seem to care. Alright, we're ready to go then. Let's move! At Santa's command, the group split and headed for the respective doors. Santa, 7, and June walked into door 7. Man, with... Damn it! Clover's not going to be very helpful. She's going to be super concerned about Snake. And Lotus, I can't trust. Fuck. While Clover, Lotus, and Junpei head for door 8. Well, it's better that I'm in this situation than June being in this situation. For a long moment they stood in front of the door. Then Lotus laid her hand on her chest and turned to Junpei and Clover. It seems totally out of character. Yeah, almost like she's pretending or something. And think about it. The fact that they have a connection when they were children just makes it more likely that we would trust her. I mean, I've ruled out Clover and Snake as working with Zero because they're siblings and they can speak for each other. But by using that logic, you can apply that logic to also the main characters Junpei and June. Guess what? It's a little less sturdy there because we don't have the implied connection. We've not seen each other for such a long time. People can change a lot. And it doesn't fit her character? Yeah. Maybe she's a very good actor. The problem is, I've not really ruled out anyone. Ace could be doing this as a trick. Just because it said that it had that in the bottle doesn't mean that was what it was in the bottle. Maybe he gave himself a really small dose. None of us saw him inject anything. Every single character is still a suspect so far. Except for maybe 9. For what I hope are obvious reasons. But 9 was definitely working with Zero. He just got betrayed. Or he misinterpreted something, or something like that. Could all be a facade, that's true. Nobody is out of suspicion right now. Are you ready? Yeah. Yes. Then shall we go? Or he could have injected himself with a small dose, so he would be unconscious, but only for a few minutes. There's just so many different ways this could be played. Door opened. Narrow hallway stretched out before them. Lotus and Clover leapt through the door, and when they did, the bracelets beeped. The detonators in the bracelets had been activated. Junpei stepped forward to follow them. As he was about to step over the threshold, he stopped. He looked to his left, toward door 7. June stood there, a mirror image of Junpei. She turned and looked toward him. Their eyes met. They nodded. Their farewell took almost 1.5 seconds. Then, someone took hold of Junpei's arms and hurled him bodily through the door. He heard the sound of the numbered door slam shut behind him. His bracelet gave a cold electronic beep. 81 seconds left, hurry! Lotus snapped at him and ran to the dead. Junpei and Clover followed her as fast as they could. Yeah, unfortunately we're in a situation right now where anybody could be Zero or working with Zero, and we have no way of determining who or how or what or why or anything. There's not enough information to act on. Ew. It stopped. And I could be wrong about my assumption about Zero being here or somebody working for him. Could be completely off. Maybe nobody is, and I'm just adding to the paranoia that this game is supposed to express. Which would be great. With a shaking hand, she wiped a few beads of sweat from her forehead. Clover, however, was calm. Aloof, perhaps. Pointless. She muttered to herself without emotion and began to walk down the hallway, leaving behind a confused Junpei and Lotus. Lotus watched through the girls receding back with a mix of frustration and curiosity. What an unpleasant girl. I bet she's not very popular with the boys. Her sarcasm seemed a little more biting than was perhaps necessary, but she sighed and started after the younger girl. After taking a moment to catch his breath, Junpei followed. Yeah, no empathy for the girl who has a missing brother. None at all. The hallway made a number of turns before at last coming to a dead end. Set into the wall on the left side was a large iron door. For a few minutes, they stood in front of the door examining it. Above the door was a plate with the word laboratory engraved on it. A laboratory, huh? That doesn't sound very pleasant. I don't like the look of this place. Me neither. But there aren't any other doors. Well, it's not like we have a lot of choices. Junpei. This game is rated M? Really? Huh. You go first. Junpei suspected her politeness was motivated by something other than respect. Ugh. Junpei muttered to himself and pushed open the iron door. I usually do a warning before M-rated games. I didn't realize this one was M-rated. Oh well. His first steps inside were tentative and careful, but as he examined the room, it became clear there was no imminent danger. Lotus followed him in, and Clover brought up the rear. The room they found themselves in was divided into two separate areas by a curved wall. A thick glass window built into the wall made it possible to see the other side of the division. Wonder if it's a one-sided one. Blood, drug reference. I'm sure the drug reference is just him injecting the damn thing. Strong language. There's a lot of that. So I honestly, if to beat like PG-13 in movies, all you have to do is say fuck more than once, and they've said fuck more than once. So, or equivalent words. So the language alone could be enough. The blood would definitely have pushed the rating up a little bit. So I could see how this was rated M. A few words to describe Lotus come to mind. None of them good. Junpei walked to the window and looked through. What the hell? Wasn't sure what else to say. In the center of the room, shaped like a quarter circle, a mannequin lay on what looked like a medical exam table. That looks so creepy. Is that like a practice medical doll or something? I've seen stuff like that before. Junpei jumped a little and noticed Lotus come up next to him. You don't think that thing is going to suddenly sit up or something, do you? Of course not. Well, I don't know. I mean, look at these cables sticking out of it. If we press the wrong button, I don't know. Stop it. Just thinking about it is terrifying. She was gripping her arms, the knuckles in her hands white. It was then that Junpei noticed Clover. She was still standing near the entrance of the room. Her face had the appearance of calm, but it was drawn and somehow sad. There was something almost pitiful about her. Junpei walked over to her, and kindly as he could, he spoke. Are you okay? Clover looked away. What are you talking about? I'm just worried about you. You've been real quiet. What? I can't be quiet if I want to? Well, I mean, of course you can. I just... Okay then, if I can be quiet if I want, just leave me alone, okay? Come on, you know I can't do that. We gotta work together. Clover bit her lip and was silent for a moment, and suddenly, Junpei, you just don't get it! Her cry took Junpei by surprise, and he stumbled backward a few steps alarmed. My brother's not the kind of person who'd just leave me behind! Something's happened to him. Something bad. Junpei had nothing to say. Lotus, jolted from her mannequin nightmares by Clover's voice, turned toward them. What happened? Clover's eyes slid to Lotus and back to Junpei. Look, just don't bother me, okay? Leave me alone. Finished, she turned around. Before Junpei or Lotus could say anything, Clover began to walk away. Hey! Wait, Clover! Hold on! He might as well have been talking to a wall for all the notice she took of his cries. Not even slowing down, she made for a doorway cut in the wall in front of her. Without even slowing down, she passed through the doorway. Okay, so before we move on, here's a problem. We are at the minimum requirement for 2 groups to pass through a door at the moment. 3 people and 3 people. Remember, each door requires 3 to 5 people to go through. That means either no one dies, or at least 1 person dies. Because the next doors we go through, there might not be more than 1 of them. That concerns me. Without warning, an iron gate fell from the ceiling like a portcullis, sealing Clover in. What the heck? What's going on here? Clover grabbed hold of the iron bars and shook them as hard as she could. Hang on! I'll get it open! Junpei grabbed the bars and pulled. In a moment, Lotus joined him. The 3 of them pulled as hard as they could, but... Damn it, it's not moving! Wait! Are you just gonna give up just like that? No, I'm not giving up. There's gotta be another one of Zero's puzzles. If it is, then there's gotta be a way to open it. Junpei nodded. Just what I was thinking. Now all we gotta do is find it. Lotus and I can look around here. Clover, you're gonna have to see if you can find anything in there. Oh, yes, I'm on it! Alright. Seek a way out. Alright, so... she's inside the middle room? Did Lotus get rid of Snake somehow on purpose? That's what I suspected earlier. It's possible. And then that would lead to this whole situation. She was talking about wanting to have less people so we can get through the 9 door. Remember, only 5 people at most can go through the 9 door. I haven't done the math, so I'm not sure the importance of the 2. What 2? Junpei, do something, please. Snake was number 2, right? He was, yes, Snake Eyes 2. So, he's currently missing. Not necessarily dead, but missing. A window made of really thick glass. I don't even think a bullet could break it. A silver handrail. It's a cardboard box. There's some papers and stuff in it. What's in the box? It looks like it's quite full. As far as I can tell, it's a bunch of notes about some kind of experiments, but it's all really technical and stuff. I don't really get it. Ethanol. Huh. Ethanol. I wonder if it's used for antiseptics. Sepsis. Oh, it says it's a anhydrous ethanol. Anhydrous? Is that different from the regular ethanol? Come on, that's common knowledge. Anhydrous ethanol is a powerful cleaner. It can even erase marks left by a permanent marker. Oh. Well, I guess it's all there is. A whole bunch of steel lockers. The 9 on the right have all the little red lights on them. Red lights, huh? Well, it can't hurt to give these babies a try. Yep, just as I thought. Locked tight, all 9 of them. I wonder if there's anything important in there. These lockers are a little larger than the ones on top. Let's see if we get there's anything useful in here. No, nothing. The mouse. The keyboard. This is the computer. No, that's technically the monitor. This is a computer, the power isn't on. Well, there's a power button. This is a waste of time. What? I don't see a power cable. Oops, yeah, you're right, no power cable. This thing isn't even connected to a main computer, though. It's got a monitor, keyboard, mouse, but that's it. Just sticking the power cable in isn't going to do anything. No tower, huh? Oh, I don't know about that. There are 2 levers here. Do you think they activate something? Well, why don't you move one? Alright, I'll give it a try. Nope. Doesn't look like anything's happened. Oh right, because we're doing this whole searchy bit, I should switch the screens. There we go. So dialogue is going to be upper right corner, searchy bits down here. So you're going to see what I'm trying to look at more so. The hands on the clock have stopped moving. The clock may stop, but time goes on. No time to screw around. We have to figure out a way out of here. Wait, why would he specifically... It could be for the purposes of a controlled environment. The only things that are powered are things that absolutely must be powered to solve the puzzle. Or, for some reason, Zero doesn't want us to know what the actual time is, and we're operating off the grandfather clock in the main room, which may not be accurate, but why would he not want us to know the time? Interesting. I wonder what this cable is connected to. Okay, one side of this thing is the room with us, the other extends in the laboratory where Clover is. In other words, the console in front of us is connected to the device in the laboratory. This is a keyhole. This looks like a keyhole for the activation key. I think this thing's supposed to power a machine in the other room. Well, it doesn't appear to be doing that. I don't know how we're supposed to turn it on. This is a really old type of keyboard. She seems kind of technically savvy. At least more so than maybe the average person. There's a lot of stuff in here. I don't know if we can use any of these. Well, I can say for certain what I can know. That I do know to use at least one of these things. Which one? The one on top. I think it's a power cable. The power cable, huh? I'll take that. A 3-pronged power cable. This is definitely a power cable. Do you remember if we ran into anything that didn't have power? Yeah, let's go to the monitor. See if we can do anything with it. Monitor doesn't have a power cable. So one end needs to be connected to a monitor. And the other end needs to be plugged into the desk. Alright, let's just slip you in. Huh? Oh shoot, I can't use this. What's wrong? The cable has 3 prongs, but the slot only has 2 holes. That's awful. Why would you ever do that? No, it's supposed to have 3 holes. It's not gonna fit, is what I'm saying. In other words, we're gonna need a plug that can change the power cable to one with 2 prongs. That's right. Great. Add an extra step, why don't you? This looks like the control for an electronic door lock. There's a red light on the display. That means it's locked. If we can get this light turned green, then maybe we can get Clover back. This looks like the control for some kind of electric lock. Red light is on, and it's gotta be locked. There's a green light just below it, although that one isn't lit. But it'll turn if we can unlock it, right? Yes, but how are we gonna unlock it? There's no keyhole, no card reader, no keyboard for putting in a password. I have no idea. What about the thing next to it? Those things. It looks like the door is the exit. The door on the right just goes to the laboratory. Nope, this door isn't going anywhere. No dice, it won't open. I mean, that's about as much as I expected. I don't think Zero would let us out of the room quite that easily. He might if it would mean leaving Clover behind, and we'd be screwed otherwise. Silver handrail. I don't know what kind of table it is, but part of it is all black. There's a pen lying over there. I think someone probably used it to make the table black. Well, if they only used the pen for one part, then there's probably something underneath all that pen. Clover, do you think you can erase it? Yeah, sure. Oh, this is permanent marker. Junpei, do you know how to erase ink from permanent marker? Erase ink from permanent marker, huh? Give me just a minute, Clover. I'll be right back. Ethanol. But how do I get it to her? Get rid of that ink, I could hand it over to Clover through the bars. Oh, go to the bars. Clover, use this ethanol. You should be able to wipe off that permanent ink with it. What am I going to wipe with? Oh, well, your clothes, of course. Kidding, just kidding. Please don't look at me like that. You're scaring me. Clover, can you use the cloth on the table? Use... Huh? Soak it in ethanol and use it to wash off all the stuff with the permanent marker, okay? Right, okay, so I'm gonna soak the cloth in ethanol. Well, she's got the cloth, but she seems to be a little in trouble with the bottle of ethanol. When she's ready, I should ask her to get to work on that stuff on the table. Soak the cloth in ethanol, and... Junpei! It's working! It's wiping the permanent ink off! Huh? There's some kind of weird drawing under all the permanent ink. Let's see what the drawing Clover found. Maybe I should ask her to take another look at the table. I wonder what it is. A bunch of numbers and some kind of grid. I can't see it from here. Clover, you've got a pen and a notebook, right? Could you write down those numbers and then hand them to me through the bars? Okay, Roger. Here, Junpei. I wrote down all the numbers on the desk over there. Paper with numbers on it acquired. New material has been added to the file screen. Clover's note. There we go. Okay. I'm gonna write this down exactly as it looks. 3, 4, 1, and a 2. Let's see. Is this like a Sudoku puzzle? 3, 4, 1 equals 8. 2, 4, 2 would equal 8, so I can't, unless I can do that. I don't know if I can. I'm looking at it, so if you go diagonally, it would be 3 plus 4 plus 1 equals 8. Then 2 plus 4 plus 2 would equal 8, so... I've got a black belt in Sudoku. Actually, go back to it. It said I could search it. Note Clover copied from the laboratory. It has 4 numbers written in 9 separate cells. Alright, let's keep looking in this room, or having her look. Is this, like, an examination table? There's a creepy mannequin in here, guys. Hey, Clover, are the power cables over there? Huh? What do you mean? Does the plug have 3 prongs or 2? I don't know what you're talking about. Let me go look. Guess she does have to kind of crouch down to get a look under there. The cable on the monitor has, it's got 2 of those little metal things. What does this mean? That's it. Okay, can you unplug the cable and bring it over here? Okay, but... Well, I can unplug it, but it's connected to the main computer. I can't take it over to you. Damn it, that's no good then. How about just the plug? Well, how about just the plug? Huh? The plug? Well, maybe more like a connector? The sort of thing that makes a plug with the 3 metal thingies or a plug with 2 metal thingies. Still useless? Not useless. Not useless at all. That's just what we were looking for. Okay, can you hold on for a little bit? And back down she goes. Alright, unplugged. I'll hand it over to you at the bars, okay? Here you go. The 2-prong plug. Thanks. Alright. Combine. Okay, put the 2-prong plug on the head of this power cable. Off we go. Back to the computer monitor. The longest way I could have taken. Alright, I've got the 2-prong power cable in my hand. I'm pretty sure this will work. Under the desk I go. And let's just plug this thing into the monitor. Okay, that ought to do it. Alright, let's turn the power on. I don't think anything's going to happen. Why not? Well, it's not connected to the main computer. You never know until you try. Pretty optimistic. Yep, it works fine. Junpei pushed the button on the front of the monitor. With a soft hum, it turned on. Streams of letters that made no sense to Junpei began to scroll across the screen. He had hoped it would turn on, but he hadn't expected this. Huh? It's actually working? So it would seem. Isn't that kind of weird? What? Well, it's not connected to the main computer, right? There's just a keyboard and monitor. The only cable connected to this thing is the power cable we just plugged in. So why is it working? Maybe it's a wireless display. Clearly that was a reasonable explanation from Lotus. A wireless display? Yes, it connects to your computer wirelessly. Hence the name. Have you been living in a cave, Junpei? Most certainly it's not, but it's not normal? Yes, at least where I worked. As they spoke, the lines of letters suddenly stopped and disappeared. The only thing left on the screen was a word pass, followed by a colon. It looks like we need to enter a password. Again. There must be a hint around here somewhere. Could you take a look? Yeah, I'm on it. What are you going to do? I'll see if I can do something about this on my own. On your own? Yep, on my own. Liz pulled out the nearest chair and dropped herself down on it in front of the keyboard. For a second, she stared at the screen. She kneaded her hands, knuckles popping, and twisted her back left and right. Alright, let's kick some ass. Lotus smiled to herself and rubbed her hands together in anticipation. Then, before Junpei had time to blink, she was typing at incredible speeds, with click-clack of keys running together like a machine gun fire. What? Junpei was, for once, at a loss for words. She's not a dancer, is she? Didn't expect that, did you? Of course I didn't. Also, it looks more like you're staring at her boobs, Junpei. What kind of job do you have? What are you? I'm unemployed at the moment. I used to work for a cybersecurity firm, but I quit. Why? Lotus blinked. Huh? Oh, it was just something. She stopped typing for a moment and her face fell. This was not an avenue of questioning to be pursued, Junpei realized, and quickly shut his mouth. Lotus's fingers began to move again, and in a quick few seconds she was back up to speed. As she typed, more letters and symbols that meant nothing, Junpei began to pour across the screen. What are you doing now? I'm gonna try and brute force it. Brute what? Brute force attack is... well, the short version is that I just attacked the thing head on. The long version... Without looking up or slowing down, she began to explain. A brute force attack is one of the simplest ways to break a cipher, she told him. It checks every possible combination until it finds the right one. For a complex cipher, it can take a very long time. The thought of doing something like that made Junpei feel tired, but Lotus explained that she was writing a program that could run just such an attack on its own. Not the most elegant solution, certainly, but given the circumstances, there isn't much else I can do. Even as she talked, her fingers never slowed or missed a key. Junpei couldn't help but feel a little awed. Oh, but back to what we were talking about earlier. What were we talking about? The wireless display. It's kind of strange if you think about it, isn't it? How to put it? Well, let's say you write a program that calculates an addition program for you, alright? So you enter 1 plus 1. The screen will show you 2. See, isn't that strange? No, not really. Oh, come on now, of course a caveman like you would think it's strange. You said so a minute ago. It keeps skipping past the parts that are him having a question mark. I don't know why. You're just not getting it, are you? Who calculated 1 plus 1? The main computer, right? You said it's connecting the monitor wirelessly. Yeah, but someone who grew up in a cave wouldn't know that, right? They'd probably think that this thing here, the monitor, is doing all the calculating. And once they decided that, they'd start examining the monitor. They might poke the screen or something. Oh, I see. The color changes when I press it here. Then they might investigate the hardware on the inside. I see, so the wire supplies power. Eventually, they might even cut the wires. Just as I suspected. When those wires cut, no results appear. Therefore, it must be the device that says the calculations. The truth is just like you said. The computer's doing all the calculating. But these cave people wouldn't know that, because they have no idea what the monitor and computer are connected wirelessly. Lotus continued to type. Junpei scratched his head. So, what are you trying to say? Nothing, really. It's just, I thought maybe... What if the relationship between human beings and our brain is like that? Huh? Let's just say you stick a bunch of electrodes in part of the brain. The scientists examining the signals they send out might say, interesting, so stimulating this part of the brain causes the person to see colors. That must mean the neuron cluster controls that function. Okay, let's see what happens when I cut out this part. Just as I thought. Cutting off this part causes the function to cease. Therefore, human thought process must occur in the human brain. Are you trying to talk about, like, the soul conundrum of, like, the soul being connected to the brain and the body is basically just a wireless connection to the soul? Interesting thought process. You get it? It's just like this monitor. Maybe the brain is just an output device, like this monitor. Maybe our thought process actually occurs somewhere else in a main body. We just don't know it. We might never even think about it. Just like those cave people wouldn't know about wireless communications. We can't imagine that there's some unknown medium that transforms information into our brains, where we experience that information as thoughts. Junpei didn't say anything. Not so much because he had no retort. No, his argument just seemed silly. He was a little surprised to be hearing something like that from someone like her. The brain is just an output device? Human thought actually occurs somewhere else? Did Lotus really think that, he wondered. It was a little creepy, Junpei thought. It sounded altogether too much like a bizarre cultish religion. Maybe that's because the Seven's amnesia. That's the cause of Seven's amnesia. Obviously, to Junpei's increasing discomfort... Oblivious, sorry. To Junpei's increasing discomfort, Lotus continued. If memory is actually stored somewhere else in some sort of main body, somewhere, maybe he hasn't forgotten anything at all. He's just having a difficult time accessing his memories because the monitor, his brain, has been damaged. Or his brain got damaged and the memory part of his... and it's the part of his brain that forms memories, which would be a much simpler explanation. I suppose that would explain aphasis and blind sight too. Perhaps they actually can't speak or see. The monitor just doesn't function properly. Or maybe part of their brain that would handle that function isn't working. This is a very odd line of thought to someone who has a psych degree. I mean, I've heard of a thought like this, but there's no evidence to support it in the slightest. I guess people with prosopagnosia, I have no idea how to pronounce that, could be suffering from the same thing. Wait a minute. What? He knew what aphasia was from watching medical dramas on TV, and blind sight was easy to guess, but he'd never heard of the prosopagnosia before. What, you never heard of prosopagnosia? Lotus spun around a chair and looked at him. This is a really, really strange scene. It is. They really want to give you a sense of who Lotus is as a person. Which is information I needed, honestly. Junpei just shrugged and shook his head. Nope. What is it? Well, put simply, it means a condition when the mind can't distinguish between human faces. Oh, right. Yeah. I've heard of that before. I just didn't recognize the name. In other words, my face would look the same as Clover's or even yours. So they can't remember faces, which is how most people recognize each other. That means that people with prosopagnosia have trouble recognizing even people they're close to. Usually they can make it out by associating with people with other things. Their voices, their clothes, their hair. Does that mean other people's faces look like mice? No, I don't think so. You've seen monkeys like in a zoo, right? To you and me, all the monkey faces look the same, even though they're obviously got faces. It's almost impossible for a human to distinguish between them. The zoo staff that works with them would learn to identify different monkeys eventually, but you or I couldn't unless we had a scar or something to set it apart. That's how people would be able to use, would be to someone with prosopagnosia. Didn't even think that kind of thing existed. Junpei did his best to act as though the entire lecture hadn't gone completely over his head. And, what were we talking about? The idea that your brain is just an output device, like a monitor. Are you serious about that stuff? Not really. I was just kidding for about half of it. What about the other half? Well, I guess I was just adulting. What? Not funny. Lotus smiled at something rather masochistic to it. It's nothing more than a story I made up out of boredom. Don't take it seriously. It was the first thing that came to mind, and I just talked about it to kill some time. But it looks like I don't need to talk anymore. Why? I don't have to kill time any longer. As she spoke, Lotus raised her right arm high, and brought it down on the enter key. The program took only seconds to analyze the system. Chunks of text flickered on and off in quick succession, and a line of numbers appeared, blinked, and disappeared. The screen cleared, and all that was left was the word accepted. Piece of cake? Lotus would clearly have patted herself on the back if it would not have made her look entirely ridiculous. After a few seconds, the accepted disappears to be replaced with 9 squares ranged in a 3x3 square. What the hell is that? No idea. It looks like a puzzle. Suddenly, Lotus stood up. Huh? Aren't you gonna, I don't know, do more computer stuff? I can't do anymore. It won't let me do any more programming. See, the keyboard. Nothing. So there's nothing more I can do. Well, I guess I'll leave this to you then, Junpei. What? Let me take a break, alright? I did my part. He wasn't sure what to say to that. She certainly had done her part. In fact, without Lotus, they probably would have run completely aground. I shouldn't rely on other people so much, Junpei thought to himself. From here on out, he told himself he would rely on no one else. Junpei crossed his arms and stared at the puzzle shown on the screen. Let's just push it in the order of the note we found. I could have figured that out. Alright, I solved it. Did you hear a noise just now? Yeah, I did. It sounded like something unlocking. Where did it come from? Right next to us. Look, Junpei, the lights on the lockers are green. We must have unlocked it with the computer puzzle. I'll switch it back to the other screen set up. There's more than one key in here. This one is small and looks like it goes to some sort of machine. And this one has the Earth symbol on it. I think the Earth symbol matches a keyhole in the door in A deck. Well, if that's the case, we probably don't need the Earth key right now. Alright then, Earth key. I'll just tuck you away deep in my pocket. Now as for the other key... Is WCOM? Well, these puzzles always seem way more complex than they really are. Yeah. What key is this? From the shape of it, it's saying it's not for a door. And probably some sort of device. Oh! What is it? I wonder, do you think maybe this is the activation key for that thing? The activation key? Yeah, it has to be. I feel good about this. Oh. It was just at that moment that he heard a voice behind him. It was Clover. Hey, Junpei, do you have a minute? He put the puzzle aside for a moment and walked over to Clover. Yeah, it kind of does. I don't know what they're leading up to, though. What's up? I wanted to ask you something. Junpei, I went to door 5 with my brother, right? Did you hear him say, like, anything weird? Why is she asking me this? Junpei wondered. The more he thought about it, however, the more it made sense. Snake had been gone for a long time. Clover was quite attached to her brother. Of course she would have been worried about him. He thought back to when he'd gone through door 5, hoping he might remember something, even a small something that would help her. However... Sorry, Clover. I can't really think of anything. I mean, he did mention that his hearing exceeds that of a regular person or something like that, but that's about it. Which means he might have heard something the rest of us didn't, that he went to investigate and then got stuck. Okay. Clover's words were barely audible. She nodded vaguely at Junpei and turned to walk away. Hey, wait a minute. Look, I don't know if I should ask you things, but if you don't mind, I was hoping you could tell me if, Snake... I mean, was he born... I'm talking about his eyes? Yeah. No, he wasn't born blind. When he was a kid, he got in an accident. A really bad car accident. Couldn't see after that. And his arm. His arm? Yeah. My brother's left arm is, it's not like a normal person's arm. It's fake. It's not a real arm. The accident hurt him really bad. To save him, they had to cut off his arm. Is that all you wanted to ask me? Talking about her brother had clearly taken a great deal out of Clover. Junpei nodded. Look, I'm sorry for making you talk about all that painful stuff. Clover only shook her head and walked down a set of stairs. Can we save Clover and ourselves? Can we find out what that key goes to? I'm pretty sure I know. Find out after the break. So get up, stretch, whatever you need to do, be able to keep watching comfortably, and I will be right back.